December 4th, 2025. It's nice to have people here in the audience, so we want to welcome you. The opening will be presented by Councilmember Nate Jackson, who will then lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll proceed from that point on.
Thank you, Mayor. It's good to see so many people in the audience today. And I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving and had an opportunity to thank those around you that you love, and in some cases, maybe even some of those that you don't love as much. Going into the Christmas season, and I've been thinking about this a lot for myself, and so I'm really speaking to myself here, but in the next few weeks going through the Christmas season, I would like to challenge everyone, including myself, to do at least one nice thing for someone else, a stranger or a neighbor or just someone other than yourselves. And I think if we all do that, we'll have a better community, and I am going to try to follow through on that commitment as well. So thanks for coming, and let's all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, Councilmember Jackson, thank you for providing our opening. Okay, some of you are new faces, and so I'm going to explain to you how our City Council meeting works. Whoops. We have an item on the agenda called Call to the Public. So a couple of people have signed up to speak, and the way this works is you'll have 3 minutes to come up to us, and you'll be able to tell us whatever you want. You can talk to us for 3 minutes. We will write down your questions. We'll keep track of your questions, but we won't respond and answer them during your time. At the end of public comment, then we will move into the next area and part of our agenda. But before we start public comment, will you raise your hand if you're here for the skate park? Okay, good. Okay, let me just provide just a little bit of context for that. Okay, gotcha. Thank you. And I will turn the mic over to Jason Christensen, who's our city manager, in just a minute. We are really glad that you're here. The reason that the city posted something about that was because we wanted to raise awareness. We've had a few complaints about it, and we have some safety concerns, and there's some other administrative type questions and concerns. So we're glad that you're here because we want to be able to talk to you about it. We know people would love to have a skate park. We would love to have people be happy and have a place to recreate and be outside. So I'll turn the mic over to Jason just to kind of explain a little bit of the history of the skate park and kind of the idea behind it and the park in general and that property in general. And then we'll turn the time over to you for your 3 minutes. So when Jason's done, I will call you up by name, and we'll look forward to hearing what you have to say. So.
Thank you, Mayor. So just a couple things, as you said, Mayor. Some of the concerns that we have to address are in relationship to the agreement that we have on that property with the HOA. One of the pieces of that agreement specifically states that a skate park can't exist, at least until the agreement expires in 2033, I think it is. So that's something we don't have control over as a city. I think part of what we'd like to do is maybe encourage those of you that might live in that neighborhood that are part of that HOA to work with the HOA to help us, maybe revisit that agreement and see if we can get that clause removed. Because again, that's something we don't have control over. It's something that the HOA requested when they gave that property to the city. And there's some other issues that we need to work out, things like safety and liability. We have to make sure we're taking care of that as a city. And that goes for any public property. There's just some basic things we have to cover. But saying that, I think the one thing I really want to stress is that we truly do want to listen. I was honestly shocked in a good way with the number of comments that came in today on the skate park, all in favor. I want to guess we saw at least a couple dozen. There were a lot. And that to me says, wow, we need to listen and figure something out here. There's obviously a community of skaters in Kaysville that needs a place to skate. So I think there's an interest in us listening. We've talked about a skate park. Cole Stevens, our Parks and Rec Director, is here tonight as well. And so I think that's kind of something that we've talked about. Again, it's on the horizon. with that, I want to say personally, I have a passion about this. I grew up as a skater myself. Now, given I haven't probably done a kickflip since the last century, but funny enough, we went down to St. George this past weekend for Thanksgiving, and my daughter brought her skateboard. She just got back from her mission and dug her old skateboard out. We used to skate, and I got on that thing, and I had such a good time. It was it awoke this part of my soul that I had forgotten about, and it is such a joy to skate. And so that what you guys said really resonates, I think, with a lot of people. And again, I think the message tonight is from us, we want to listen. I think after we hear your public comments, our next step would be, let's sit down and talk this through, see if we can figure something out, and talk to the HOA, those sorts of things. So
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And I just wanted to let you know, so there is do we still send around a clipboard for people in the meeting who have attended our meeting, Anne Marie? Okay, there is a clipboard. It'll have a Kaysville City logo on it. There might be another clipboard. The only one that we would like you to sign is the one with the Kaysville City logo, so that we know who is in attendance, and also so that we can reach out to you about a future meeting, because the next step would be get people together, get you together in the same room, and we'll try to meet with some people from the HOA to see what we can do. Okay? So that being said, we have 3 people who have signed up to speak. The first is Aaron Austin, Kaylin Montgomery, and then Blair with a D. Dice. Blair Dice. Okay, thanks.
Hello, I'm Aaron Austin. I've been a resident of Kaysville City for about a little over 13 years, and I'm the father of an avid skateboarder who's been doing it for about 11. So I definitely understand the problems with a skateboard park that is just built by someone in the community, and can understand if that needs to be dealt with. But a very good way to not have that happen in our community would be to have an official skate park, so that there was a place to go. So over those 11 years, I've done a lot of travel in seeking out skate parks for my son to visit and skateboard at. I feel like other communities have tackled this issue. They've figured out safety, liability. I don't see a reason why we can't do that also in our community. Another good benefit of having an official skate park in our community would be avoiding issues with local businesses or local areas of our city where people don't want skateboarders skating. I've had my run-in a few times with that topic as the father of a skateboarder over the years. I would just like to point out that skateboarding is an Olympic sport. It is not something that has to be seen as counterculture or a problem or being done by people who are people we don't want in our community. And in speaking with my son about what ideas he has, he mentioned that Barnes Park seems to have a lot of open space, might be a good place for a skate park in our community. I've also thought sometimes that the park next to the library has a fair amount of space, and I would encourage you to think about the option to do a skate park in maybe segments or an expanding way so that it's not all the cost at once. And I would encourage you to do a good job of it if you do it. As we've traveled around and seen some of the skate parks that cities have put in, some of them are very poorly designed and they're not fun to skate at. They're not, what you want. So if they've gone to the trouble, spent the money, put it there, and then people aren't going to use it because it's not designed well. So there's professionals that design these for, flow from one spot to another and safety and everything. So I would love to see a skate park in our community. I'd love to see it done well. And I think we can make it happen.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kaden.
Hello, I am Caden Montgomery. I'm a senior at Davis High. I'm one of the captains of the football team, and I grew up skateboarding. So skateboarding was really a big passion for me for a lot of years, and it really helped me through a lot of things, and it taught me a lot of good things. One thing about skateboarding is you fall down a lot. You do a trick, you fall down, but no matter what, it teaches you to get back up. And that's really taught me a lot of things in my life. And it's connected me to people that I love. It's really taught me about myself, and it's a positive community. And the DIY, I think, I only found out about it a couple months ago because I don't really skateboard during football season. And I went over there and I was like, super cool. Community's getting together, they're building something, and I completely understand. You know, it's like on this person's land that they gave to you guys that they don't want, and I think that really needs to be discussed with them because. To me, I go over there and there's just this big open space. Nothing's used. It's this random concrete pad. Why not turn it into something? And that's what the guy that built it, he was like, I'm going to turn it into something. And I think that's super cool, but I completely understand why. But like Mr. Austin said before me, I really think that shows you that this community does want a skate park. And, you know, as a skateboarder, especially as a little kid, I couldn't drive anywhere, so I was stuck just in town. So I'd go around, try to find spots, and then you find a spot, and then the business owner's like, hey, you can't be doing that. I'm worried about myself, you know. And as I got older, I completely understand. Back then, I was like, come on, just let me skate.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I know that there's lots of liability issues, and I know that's a big problem, but I feel like the city would really benefit from a skate park. And I know I'm going to start off my kids with sports through the Parks and Rec program because that's amazing, but I also want them to be able to maybe try skateboarding or scootering or BMXing, and that's all comes together at a skate park. And I've met some of my closest friends through skating, and it really is a really beautiful community, and skate parks harness that. And so I really want to see a skate park in Kaysville, and I'll come to any meeting I have to talk about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That'd be a great senior project. Yeah, right? Okay. Blair. Yep, yeah.
I've lived in Kaysville for 20 years now, and I'm just off Wellington there, so I've seen that area for quite a while, and it's encouraging to come and hear the positive response as far as being open to a skate park, so that's good to hear. So kind of understand the issues with the private property type issue there and the people that start putting that together. But I just wanted to make sure, that the skate park voice was heard. So that's why I signed up to come up and say, because I think it's a good thing. It would be great if there could be some discussion with the homeowner association there, because that property for 20 years has been like that. It's been abandoned, it's been trash, it's garbage, it's weeds, it's this abandoned structure, and it's being used. So if they have problems with what it's being used for, well, then maybe they should have used it. And if they're not going to use it, then maybe that's what needs to be discussed currently at this time, that it can be used for something else, at least in the meantime, while we get something in place. Because what difference does it make as far as the graffiti and things like that? It's still there, and they were spray painting it before the skate park. It wasn't because of the skate park that stuff happened. It's an abandoned structure that they haven't taken care of. So if that could be addressed or looked at a sooner time than that, so we can get something in place. But I just want to make sure that the skaters were heard. Thanks.
Hey, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here.
Mayor? Oh, good.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Usually we allow 5 signups. We have 3, so 2 more people would like to come up to speak. You can each have 3 minutes. Please state your name and tell us where you live. And yeah, tell me your name so I can write it down.
My name is,
Oh, will you come to the mic? Yeah, thanks.
Great.
People listen online, so.
Sounds good. So my name is Jonathan Pena, and I'm originally from California, but I enlisted into the Utah National Guard. So I'm an active Guard member working out of Salt Lake City. And I wanted to come here today to just speak about the importance of having a DIY spot, and I wrote something that I would like to share. So, dear council members, I have a message, and I hope this finds you well. I would like to emphasize the importance of maintaining the DIY skate park in our community, particularly considering its unique features such as the lighting and shading that provide year-round accessibility. As the only park in Utah that offers shaded area for both winter and summer, along with ample nighttime lighting, it plays a vital role for skaters and the broader community. DIY skate parks such as ours, created by volunteers, not only provide a space for us to skate, but also serve as a crucial meeting point for community members. During my time in the National Guard, I experienced firsthand the transformative power of such spaces when stationed in Biloxi, Mississippi. A DIY park started by a staff sergeant of mine became a central hub for the community, fostering friendships and creativity among various groups. And the skaters in the community are actually leading the Christmas Day Parade down in Mississippi. It's a horde of skaters that are going to be signing up to go. I believe that our DIY skate park in Kaysville holds similar potential. It gives youth and adults alike a space to connect, engage in physical activity, and build relationships, which is especially important in today's digital age. I kindly urge you all to consider the significance of enabling our skate park to remain available, and if not available, then consider opening up a park or helping with the community develop a park that has those shading and lighting and fixtures for night. As a Guard member in Utah, skateboarding is usually seen as like something rebellious or something that might have like a bad connotation to it. But my time going down to Mississippi and seeing the work that members that are contributing their all to the society and to the states by serving our country in the military, the amount of influence they're having for young people to have a safe place to go skate. And being a role model for some of the local community members, right? Hey, you don't have to go and do criminal activities. You have a space to come. You have people to look up to, because skateboarding has a very social aspect to it. I dropped off a trash bin and a picnic table at the park because it's important to keep a space clean and safe for everybody. But also, a kid that was helping me move it, didn't have enough money to afford a new skateboard, so I gave him a skateboard. There's a huge part of that in skateboarding community, and if we lose that spot in Kaysville, I feel like we're going to be doing a great disservice to the younger kids looking up to us. That's all.
Thank you for your comments. Thanks.
And I'm just a resident. I live across the street from where this skate park has been developed, and it's been so much fun. I'm not as prepared as some of these other speakers. I wasn't planning on speaking. In fact, just heard of this today. As I was leaving to drop my son off to school, I saw that there were signs up and thought, what are those? And had to go over there and see that the signs were up there as a concern. And so after a little bit of research that it was a concern that that's there, I just wanted to voice as somebody that lives directly across the street on 200 North, so I'm straight ahead of the church parking lot. That's the back of my house, and we've been there almost 16 years. This month is 16 years. So it's been a long time. We developed our house way before the school was there or any of that neighborhood. I have a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old, neither of which skate, so I'm here for the reason of it's been so fun to watch them come together and build this together and be so proud. The kids are so proud of what they've done there, and I just watch them get together as groups, and it's just been very fun to watch what they've put together. And I know it sounds like this is a up for topic in Kaysville City, wherever that ends up being, but I would love for it to stay in that area. It has been really nice as somebody that's been there the whole time that I don't even know what it's called, that building.
The pavilion building?
The pavilion, yeah. So the pavilion has been there for all these years, and as our HOA, when we first started living, like when we built our house there, the HOA was planning on doing a park, and then there were power line boundaries issues and lots of conversations. And then long story short, once we gave the land up, and then now that field of grass is there instead of the equestrian park, the community is coming together even more than it did with the equestrian park. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity for more people to come together and in whatever way. And I think that we're already seeing it with that field that is now got a pavement parking lot. I mean, the kids meet their parents there when they pick them up from school. You know, there's a lot of good things happening, and that would be one more additional thing. And hopefully, like some of the other people had mentioned, it would take the skaters away from like Smith's. You know, they gather, and that exit or that whole street is just so scary to have kids skating on, and that through that intersection. And so if we could push that down, I think our area at the bottom of 200 North is more safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, we appreciate you speaking and being here. Sign our clipboard so that we have your contact information. And like Jason said, next steps is we'll get a hold of the HOA organization and see if we can start having some discussions.
Mayor?
I will tell you, things move very slowly in government. So just, it will take some patience because it takes a while to work through things. But we appreciate your interest, and we understand what you're saying. And did you want to say something?
Do you mind?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Mayor. I just wonder if since we have the opportunity and since we have all of these folks here that are curious about it, I do feel like there's opportunity here for us to look at some possibilities. I've talked with Cole. I see the concerns that it could grow out of proportion. A couple of things that Cole had mentioned, liability, to name, you know, I mean, as things come in that we don't have control over, maybe faulty half pipe or something like that, and someone gets hurt on city property, are we liable for that? We do have at most of our parks an inspector that comes and inspects all of the playgrounds on an semi-annual or regular monthly basis. And so those, while I see those as concerns, I also see ways around that, skate at your own risk and different things. We have the issue with the HOA, which I'm very much aware of. But I also think that there's solutions to that because I see this as a really positive thing for our community, and also love the idea that you've got a group of people who are taking it upon themselves to do it. And the worst thing I think we could do would be to peel all of that stuff away, all of their hard work, without having a chance to discuss some solutions. I understand that the letter that was sent out and the notification that was given would be that those things would be removed on the 15th. My request would be to see if the mayor would be amiable to having the council maybe weigh in. I know we maybe can't have it be a topic or something on the agenda, but maybe weigh in on our thoughts of delaying that removal date until, thank you, delaying that removal date until we have a chance to discuss some possible options. I mean, there's a gentleman years ago, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, that donated $25,000 towards a skate park, and that was his passion for skating. As he said, I'm going to give this money to Kaysville. I only want it to go towards a skate park. I could see those funds being used in the interim to help us fund whatever we may need to do to make this a viable option while we proceed with trying to find a location for a permanent skate park. So my request would be that we at least give them the option, give some more time to this. I see Nick grabbing for the mic. Maybe he's saying that that's not an option, but I'd like to roll the dice and maybe throw it to like end of January so that we actually have a chance, or at least we have a chance in our next meeting in December to discuss some options that we could possibly roll out.
Mayor, can I just give a word of caution?
Nick is our city attorney, by the way.
This item was not noticed to the public.
So we can't actually discuss it.
So
yeah,
it would be imprudent to discuss it tonight without noticing it.
Right.
It's foreseeable that some people got this notice and they wanted the skate park, which is fine. It's also foreseeable that some people got this notice and thought, finally the city's going to tear that down.
Yeah,
you know, and so they didn't show up to voice their opinion. If we're going to do that, I will tell you that a skate park is an incredible liability for a city. And if it's not built by professionals, the city would be exposed to a great deal of liability. I'm not saying that we necessarily need to tear it out, but we would need to close it. At least put barricade around it so that people couldn't access it until we were able to discuss it on the 18th, if that's the direction the council wants to go. I just, I feel like, I think it was good intentions. I think it was noble intentions. I don't think anybody here is trying to put the city in a bad spot, but if a child or any kind of skater had some kind of injury there, and that it wasn't built by professionals, the city would be exposed to a great deal of liability.
Right, okay,
So
Councilmember Jackson, go ahead. Oh,
Yeah,
did you have
quick question. So you said possibly put barricades around it. Would it be permissible to put a sign that say it's closed?
Are you saying we're not supposed to discuss this right now, or what are you trying to say?
Yeah, I'm saying,
Like-
I'm trying to thread a needle here that we shouldn't discuss it tonight, what we're going to do with the skate park, and if we have some general consensus not to remove it, that we should close it.
So hypothetically, if we were talking about something, like hypothetical skate park, if we were to hypothetically discuss it, would we, and we were to do it in a non-meeting setting, if we were to send an email to parks asking that the date change from the 15th to the 19th, do you hypothetically see 4 days in that instance being a...
Well, I would suggest that the park, like, my opinion as your legal counsel is that you close it immediately, as soon as possible, because it's such a liability.
Okay,
But I'm very risk adverse.
Yes.
So that's something that Cole and Jason would also weigh in on. I'm not the final decider on that. But what you could do is, if you wanted to postpone this, each of you could independently, without discussing amongst yourselves, email Jason or Cole and give them your opinion on that, and that would be perfectly legal.
okay, so basically what we're saying is we are bound by public meeting rules, meaning that any type of action that we take has to be done in a public meeting, work sessions, discussions as a council where we come to any kind of consensus or decision. And we did not publicly notice this because it's just recently come up and we've allowed it to be spoken about during public comment. So that being said, we will close and end public comment. However, we will still have conversations individually because we are allowed to do one-on-one conversations. I suspect that this will be on a future agenda, perhaps the next agenda in December, and we could maybe make it an action item and try to find out some ways in which we could work something out. But to that point, I am telling you, it will still be a long process, and I'm sorry, but that's just the way government works. It's kind of slow and clunky. But we don't want to kill your fun, and we don't want to kill your sport, and we don't want to kill your passion. And so I will tell you, some people a couple years ago decided that they wanted pickleball courts. And so the city said, all right, well, we have no budget for that. So why don't you fundraise, and let's see how much you can come up with for a pickleball court, and then the city will work out some kind of a match. They did that, and now we have incredible pickleball players, professional level pickleball facilities here, and pickleball is thriving in Kaysville. And so that's probably something that internally, I would hope that you'd maybe start talking about. And if you could do that and organize yourselves as neighborhoods, we will get ourselves organized on the city side, and we will continue the conversations. Okay?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Councilmember Jackson.
Can we get that on the agenda as soon as possible within
As a work
the
item?
rules of notifying everyone?
Yeah, absolutely. We only need 24 hours notice.
Yeah.
But because we haven't noticed it, we shouldn't discuss it. Sounds good.
Okay. All right, so that's what we'll do as far as that goes.
Mayor,
Yes,
can I just say
Councilmember-
something real quick?
Oh, sure.
Okay, I will not continue to discuss the item. I just wanted to say thanks, everyone, for coming. I appreciate you being here. It's so nice to see people passionate about something in the community. It's very refreshing. It makes my heart happy. So thank you, and yes, let's keep working on it.
And Councilmember Blackham, I know you.
All I want to say was, out of the 6 years I've been here, this is the most emails I've ever received on anything, on any item that's ever been before the city. and I appreciate them, and I love to see that type of passion come from the citizens of Kaysville City. And so I went over there today. I took pictures. I was impressed. Sorry. I mean, I'll say that.
No, it's great. And when we say the most emails,
Retract that.
we're talking about in a positive way. Okay, we get a lot of emails, but most of them are not happy emails. So we appreciate the fact that you guys are passionate and excited. So, yeah, thanks. Did you have anything you wanted to add? Okay, all right. Okay, thanks, everybody. All right. Conflicts of interest. Does anyone have anything to declare as we move forward on our agenda? No? Okay, would someone like to make a motion on consent item 4A?
I'll make a motion that we approve consent item A.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Councilmember Hunt.
Aye.
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 Okay, and everyone who is now done with your discussion, you are welcome to leave. You are welcome to stay, but don't feel like you have to. If you don't want to, you are more than welcome to go. And you can always listen online, but we don't want you to feel like you have to stay if you don't want to. Okay. Okay, item number 5A is a work item, discussion on adopting the Wildland Urban Interface Code as required by Utah House Bill 48. Chief Erickson, you're on. This is exciting. I love it. This is amazing.
Mayor, council, city leaders, appreciate your time. So this is let me back up. House Bill 48 passed that cities would adopt the Wildland Urban Interface Code, the Utah Wildland Urban Interface Code. So we got to fix the verbiage a little bit. But anyways, long story short, the cart definitely is before the horse. I think, to be honest with you, and I don't mind saying it, it's a poor bill. We're using a 2006 code. I'm told the 2024 code is ready, but it's not going to pass anytime soon. So me, Jordan, mainly Jordan, you know that, and our fire warden put this map together showing, and what this shows right here, your severity scales go from a 0 to a 10, and we only have, in this section of our city, we only have 4s. And to our understanding, can you put that fee schedule up, please? That one there. So there's 4 fees, schedules, if you will, that are going to be put in place. They don't know which one yet. So that's why I say, again, the cart before the horse. We do not have a statewide high hazard map. That has not been developed yet, but they want the cities to do this by January of 2026. The law passed March 3rd, 2025, and it's very, very confusing. Syracuse just did theirs at a council meeting in November. Layton's doing theirs tonight, just like we are. It's a work item. I think Katie did a good job at the resolution, but it's just a lot of unknowns. And this, you know me by now, this is the last thing I want to do is come to you and ask you to do something, and I don't have any answers for you and can't get any. Yep. So I don't, Mike and I have had many, many conversations with this past week, and some of the verbiage isn't right. It's like you may adopt it, you know, and so I don't know. I say we table it, get some more information. Mike, what do you think, man?
I thought you wanted to move it to
action
item.
Yeah, let's move it to action.
So that we can take some
That'll
action.
give us some time to.
Such as tabling. Yeah, okay. Anyone have any questions on this?
That I won't have an answer to. Go right ahead. No, I can give you some answers, but it's, I'm being told by everybody, we're just in a chiefs meeting today with all the Davis County fire chiefs, and they're only supposed to bill those folks that live in 7 through 10, which is a high to extremely high hazard area. Here's the sad thing. Yes, it's only $20 up to $100 on some fees a year, but you're going to pay that in 26 and 27, and you can't appeal it until 28 because there's nobody in the state that's qualified to assess the land. So I don't know.
And insurance will go up
It
in
will.
those areas as well. So
If you're in
this is
those
just
areas
start-
and you, I think, and this is Paul Erickson's opinion, I really think that they put it in place to really have the homeowners do their due diligence around these homes. But I also think they did some of it in the stovepipe and, kind of tied their own hands, if you will.
Yeah.
If you ask me, the WUI code is poorly done.
I understand. And so the reason that we're even entertaining this is because we,
We have a deadline of 2026,
yeah.
January.
And we still won't have any answers because the session doesn't even start till January
Exactly.
20th. And so we're really being asked to adopt a code or an ordinance that we don't know the impact of
Yes.
by the state of Utah. Yeah.
And I'm being told the repercussion, if we don't adopt it, is if we have a fire starting in our city limits and it travels to forest lands, that we will pay the bill for
the-
everybody that comes, the airdrops and everything.
Yeah.
2019 fire was about 3 million.
Yeah. So that's great.
So that's an incentive.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Any questions? Is that clear?
I think we covered my two questions. I was going to ask about insurance, and I was going to ask about how much trouble we'd be in if we
Yeah.
decided to wait a little bit on this.
It's funny you say that. Mike and I were doing that too, and I don't know. You don't want a $3 million bill either.
No.
And my only question, because now I know that if I get my windshield crack fixed, it's still my insurance rate go up. My insurance goes up, and but is this like a knee-jerk reaction from some of the wildfires in California, Palisades,
Sir, I'm
and
telling you
others?
this,
I definitely
and all
think
of
so.
you,
Yes.
it always is, right?
Yeah.
Based on the Paradise Fire, they made all the electric companies have a hazardous mitigation plan around power lines.
Yeah.
So it's, and unfortunately, in our business, all of our standards are written in blood or death.
Yeah.
So that's the unfortunate part.
Okay. No, I mean, that makes sense, and that you have a legislature trying to do good,
You bet.
and but they never understand the long-term aspects of what they're trying to do.
You bet.
So,
And getting dropped, if you're in a high hazard area, that is real.
And expensive because you're on your own.
You bet.
Okay. Well, that was great.
It was awesome. I feel really good.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that with us, Chief. Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to move this to an action item?
I'll make a motion that we move work item A to an action item.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
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 I'm shocked
Mike,
by
you
that.
promised
I'm
me, man.
shocked by that. Aye.
That was great.
I thought he was going to say, I don't think so.
exactly.
Anyway, okay. Thank you, Chief.
Sorry about that.
Okay, thanks. All right. 5B, discussion of updates to Kaysville's water conservation plan. Melinda. Josh.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
I've never seen Councilmember Blackham give a begrudging eye, so that's a first.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That's impressive. I like it.
Hey, we had a deal, Josh.
Mayor and council, thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. Utah State Code requires that all public water systems have and maintain a water conservation plan. That plan has to be updated every 5 years. What you have before you tonight is the updated version of the 2019 water conservation plan. We didn't update it this last year because of changes to state code impacting the general plan, which we'll be discussing after this. Yeah, the water conservation plan details a little bit about Kaysville's water system, and its kind of unique characteristics. And as I talk about the unique characteristics of the Kaysville water system, I'm referring to the drinking water system. And that unique factor is that most communities either utilize culinary to also provide irrigation for people, or you have a municipality that not only operates a drinking water system but they also operate the irrigation system. You have communities like Syracuse and others. Layton City has joined those ranks recently. Kaysville has a water system. We only provide drinking water. We have 3 irrigation companies that are independent from the city that serve 94% of the irrigation needs for Kaysville City. So we are unique in that regard. A lot of the discussion about water conservation is largely focused on outdoor irrigation. Trying to see conservation progress and momentum is about what we're doing with our water outside. But we don't want to say like, oh, well, you know, we don't provide irrigation, so we don't really care about water conservation. We feel like there can be additional progress made with indoor usage, with culinary, but we also have a vested interest. We're a big stakeholder in what's done with these irrigation companies within our community. We talked in this report about current water usage. We currently get all of our water from Weber Basin Water Conservancy District. We have just over 2,700 acre feet on contract with them. On average, we're using about 2,400 acre feet, so a 300 acre foot surplus per year. As we look into the future, we are projecting a deficit as Kaysville approaches 2060, as we get towards build out. That would be just over 500 acre feet. However, we also want to point out that we have an additional agreement with Weber Basin where every gallon of stream water right that we have, if we divert a gallon of water to Weber Basin's untreated aqueduct, they credit our bill 1 gallon. So if we were to use all 2,700 acre feet and then we do our exchange, our bill, we're only at 2,400 acre or 2,300 acre feet. So that's a phenomenal opportunity that we have with Weber Basin. We're extremely grateful for that. Factoring in that exchange, we show a future deficit of just over 100 acre feet. And we're currently working on a project utilizing ARPA funds to secure some additional water rights, and we've established potential well sites in Kaysville to work with the Division of Water Rights and the State Engineer's Office on. Towards the end of the report, after we're done discussing the water system, usage patterns, we talked about conservation efforts. And again, although we're not directly responsible for the irrigation water, we are interested in it being used more responsibly, and we detail the efforts that the city has undertaken, some of those efforts in conjunction with the irrigation providers, some of them just city efforts for education, changes to ordinances that make properties eligible for Flip My Strip type reimbursement funds, detailing some of the community outreach that we have done and will continue to do. And then I think the other important item to point out, the state has asked the various regions to come up with conservation goals. The specific region that we're in the Weber Basin region, and that is a goal of 200 gallons per capita day, so 200 gallons per person per day being utilized, and an overall 20% reduction in water usage. Working with Weber Basin and acknowledging the fact that, hey, we are unique, we're not going to see massive reduction in usage simply by the fact that this is indoor water usage and not irrigation. We came up with Kaysville specific goals that the state has reviewed with us, that Weber Basin has reviewed with us, and that we feel good as a group shooting for 61 or 60 gallons per capita day rather, and an overall reduction of 10% for indoor usage. We think that the majority of that reduction in overall usage can be through doing things like replacement projects, trying to minimize the amount of water that we lose to water leaks, trying to minimize the amount of water that we lose to flushing, as we're trying to monitor water quality. So with that, what our plan doesn't do is it doesn't identify here are very tight, rigid restrictions on what you can and cannot do in Kaysville. It's very much an important document, even though it doesn't identify those type of things. But with that, we'll turn it over to council for any questions, comments, input that you might have.
Go ahead, Councilmember Jackson.
Yep. Yeah, just a couple things here. So you mentioned the goal is 200 gallons per person a day. In your professional opinion, is that doable? I haven't looked at how much water I use, and so I need to go.
Yeah, it's hard to say for Kaysville because one of the things, and we'll discuss this with the general plan component, is we currently don't know how much people use for irrigation. The irrigation companies are currently working on projects to install meters on every single connection within Kaysville, but they're not all installed. It'll probably be several more years before they are installed. And without that data, we can't understand, what's the average consumption on, specific sizes of lots or specific types of zones. And without knowing that, all we can comment on is we know that we're currently at about 61 gallons per capita a day for the indoor usage, and we would like to see that come down even further.
Okay.
So,
and just another point too, you mentioned we're going to have a future water deficit of approximately, I believe, 503 acre feet. Mm-hmm. Could you explain ways to kind of make that up?
Yeah, so the main primary way that we are pursuing to bridge that gap is we do have some current underground water rights that we own, and we're currently awaiting approval from the state engineer on an additional 120 acre feet that we're trying to purchase. Once that's approved, we would be largely bridging that gap with spending the next however many years pursuing well sites and connecting those to our drinking water system where we can supplement some of that supply, and that's how we would bridge that gap is with wells.
Okay, wells.
Yeah.
Josh, what does 61 indoor usage gallons mean?
So that just basically means 61 gallons per person in the city of Kaysville is being used per day. So if you have one person in a household, that household is using 61 gallons per day. If you have two people, you have 122 gallons being used per day at that home.
And that is not drinking water.
That is
drinking water. But that includes like dishwasher water.
Yeah, exactly.
Showers,
Any
flushing
indoor,
your toilet.
Any indoor usage, all of your appliances in your home are served by
drinking water. Okay, that's what I thought.
Correct.
So I guess I was just wondering, are we going to do a public campaign to try to help people flush less often, or?
Yeah, so we kind of detail the efforts that we're currently taking, as well as efforts that we'll continue to take towards the end of the report about education, about rebate opportunities, about just making people aware of what their usage is. So I think there's about 4 or 5 pages of details regarding what the city is currently doing with outreach, education, and just general.
So we'll just be doing more of that.
Like the mathematics behind a teenage boy being in the shower for
versus
25 minutes. How many gallons are we looking at?
Or
a lot of gallons.
Right.
A lot of gallons.
So reading through the material, it actually looks like we're in pretty good shape as a city. And this is more looking out 60 years into the future, a growth of potentially up to 40, mid-40s.
Yeah, we don't want to rest on our laurels, but right now, we have a great partnership with Weber Basin, but we don't want to assume that things aren't ever going to be problematic. I think I've discussed recently in council meetings the fact that the Weber Basin feed line shut down for the Highway 89 project several years ago, and we barely got through that by the skin of our teeth, working with Layton and Farmington on contingency plans of, hey, can we take some water from your fire hydrants and hook them into our fire hydrants so that we can then supply water to various parts of town. We want to be ready for whatever comes, whether it's growth, also just overall upgrades to our system to be more ready for emergencies. and have a more robust system in general. So,
One more quick question, sorry. Also in the material, you mentioned that in 2024 we had significant water quality issues and we had to flush more water out of the system than typical. Could you explain that a little bit, maybe why that was the case?
Yeah, so Weber Basin had an issue with part of their treatment process at their plant on SR 193. And that showed elevated levels of manganese in the water. And it was under drinking water standards, but it was still enough to cause discoloration for some people turning on their taps. That's concerning. Even if it's safe to drink, it's concerning. There was an odor to it. Even though it's safe to drink, that's still concerning.
Yeah.
So with that water, we marshaled the entire Public Works Department for about 3-4 weeks, going out on a daily basis and flushing hydrants. And what that does is just, hey, any of that water that could be in the system, we can't say how much or exactly where it is, but we're just going to flush. We're just going to flush. We're going to take a lot of samples. We're going to be monitoring temperatures, clarity, chlorine residual levels, and continue to do that until we felt comfortable and confident that whatever may have got into the system, we don't think that it's in the system any longer.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Mayor?
Councilmember Hunt.
Okay, so bear with me here. I'm going a little bit out into left field. Sorry about that. So I'm curious, and I'm not saying I am super invested in this, but I kind of had this idea as we were sitting here. If we're planning, so the water numbers we have are based on continued development and growth, right? Residential growth. So I guess what I'm wondering is if we feel, I mean, I know it's a ways off, but if we feel like we're eventually going to have a water deficit, and maybe this is a question more for Nick or Melinda, but is there any justification for putting a moratorium on development until we feel like we have a plan in place to regulate that better?
As we've been working on the conservation plan and then also in conjunction with the general plan component, I think we're sufficient through 2030 and 2040, and it's as we get into the 2050s and 2060 that we start to see that deficit creep up. I don't see personally a need to, hey, we need to put a moratorium on that. As one, we're currently sufficient for our needs, and two, I don't think we're in a situation where, hey, this is dire, and I've only seen that done once in my time with local government, and I think that was the city of Camas that put a moratorium on that, and that's no small effort to do something like that. Not to say if it's the right thing to do that you shouldn't do it, but I don't think that's the situation that we find ourselves in.
Okay, so maybe then just continued planning.
Yeah,
I guess we wouldn't necessarily have to put a moratorium on it.
As we're looking down the road, again, 10, 15, 20 years that we're feeling comfortable and confident, we don't want to rest on our laurels, but we're going to be as proactive as we can.
Okay. Thanks, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
What is our time frame for potentially building wells?
So we would like to get the water rights secured within the next few months.
Okay.
And then it's a unfortunately lengthy process of you have to spend money to drill exploratory wells.
Right.
You might be successful and you might be unsuccessful with those exploratory wells. As you find water, the first thing that you need is it's got to be a sufficient quantity where you drilled. So if you get lucky, you drill an exploratory well and it's sufficient quantity, you then get the fun task of, all right, now we need to start sampling this and see what's in it. Weber Basin has recently had wells that they've drilled that they're thinking, hey, maybe we turn this into an irrigation well because it's got levels of manganese, of cadmium and other constituents that we're not sure we want to introduce that to the drinking water system, or hey, do we want to try and treat this before we introduce it to the drinking water system? So you've got to pass state approvals through a round of testing before you can do that. And then is the task, if you've got a sufficient quantity, sufficient quality, then you've got to build the well. So Weber Basin, that same well, I think they started working on that in the coordination efforts in maybe 2018, 2019, and they just completed that well within the last 6 to 9 months.
Okay.
So you're looking maybe 4 to 5 years,
Okay.
Start to finish potentially for that process.
We have a river that runs right underneath us. We could just tap into.
Just tap it. We'll get it. Tap, tap, tap.
Well, and my other question was, once the meters are all installed in these irrigation systems, will that data be shared with us as a city? So then we'll have actual numbers to work with?
Yeah, I think we would want to understand that data, not so that we're trying to control their operations, but hey, we
Right,
want
no,
to
just so we know our
understand.
usage.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, are there things that we can be doing to help further encourage conservation in different ways? Understanding, hey, what's the capability of growth within Kaysville to handle
Right.
things like that. So I think we would definitely have an interest in understanding that data and having access to it.
So, Mayor,
Absolutely,
I
yes.
thought the direction from the state was once all those meters were installed and functioning, that it'd be required from the city or the state, or, we were based on whatever, to charge based on usage.
Yeah.
So rates are going to change.
That was my thought too.
Correct, yeah. So currently we have Davis and Weber, Benchland and Hates Creek Irrigation in Kaysville City. And as those entities get their meters installed and online, they've also got to establish water rates for their usage. Currently, Kaysville has a tiered rate structure that defines how much you're going to pay per month for the water that you use, and those companies will have to do the same thing as they approach 2030. Get your meters in and start charging, not, here's your assessment on your shares. It's you use this many gallons. So it's going to be a difficult transition, but that is the direction that they have to move.
It's going to be an expensive transition.
Yes,
for some of us.
and that is,
Yeah.
I think, going to be a
Eye-opening.
very large encouragement for people to conserve water is
And zero escape?
understanding how much they're using by seeing how much they're spending on a regular basis for irrigation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Lots of concrete. Okay.
And it's eye-opening to people as we've been able to work with some of the homes on the east side. We decided to start going through. There are just a few locations where people are using culinary water for irrigation. We talked to one homeowner who was using 120,000 gallons a month.
Wow.
At their home. It was like a fourth or a fifth of an acre lot up on the east side, and they had no idea. I just moved here. I assume that's normal. That's not normal. You're paying $800 a month on your water bill. You want to be closer to maybe $150, $200 a month on your water bill. So they appreciated that kind of educational opportunity, but for good 2 or 3 months they were quote unquote paying through the nose.
I'm assuming they called us for that information?
No, we
Really?
went and got it ourselves and reached
Really?
out to them.
That's a shocker that would shock your.
Yeah, no, they
Shock
were
you
paying the
to the
bill.
core. Okay.
Isn't that what our WaterWise metering is doing, is letting you know those places?
We're able to set alarms. If you've got any kind of parameter you could think of, hey, your water usage just exceeded 20% of normal. So we're going to get a notice and we're going to do some outreach, or you are having continual usage through the midnight hours, indicative of a leak.
Yeah.
So we're going to try and do some outreach.
I have one question for Josh, and it has to do with both B and C. Cannot we just take in our general plan and reference this water conservation plan that Kaysville has and have that meet all the requirements we need to at this point?
I think there's some additional requirements that our plan doesn't touch on. It doesn't touch much on land use and things like that specifically, but the general plan element does reference the water conservation plan.
And wouldn't that, I read the bill, and I felt like I don't like getting specifics into telling people what they have to do with their property, obviously. But I felt like reading the bill or whatever and going through, that this water conservation plan would meet that requirement without having to get specific.
I think it does meet a very large portion of the requirements of that general plan element. I think it would be good to have two kind of standalone items, the general plan and what it's dealing with in land use and planning, and the water conservation report specifically about usage patterns and conservation efforts. I think they do support each other, but I think it is good to have. I don't want the water conservation report adopted into the general plan, and they
okay. The only reason I'm saying is because as I was reading this, I felt like it's pretty specific in our ordinances and what we do that all properties residential are supposed to hook to a pressure irrigation system. Because we don't want them putting drinking water on the lawns.
Right.
We just don't want it. And it kind of says that in what you've got here, but it also kind of notes that if you're an area that doesn't have pressure irrigation, then you have to submit a irrigation plan and how you're going to use water-wise landscaping and all that. That's what I thought I read in this.
in the report.
Yeah, somewhere.
It doesn't quite get into that level of detail. It does reference some of the recent landscaping ordinances that the city has adopted, but it doesn't touch on requirements for, like the development process.
Right, and I wouldn't expect it to. I just thought I thought there was somewhere in here that, and maybe it was the bill I was reading that said you'll submit if you're in an area that does not have pressure irrigation, you submit a water-wise use plan. And I thought, well, okay, that makes good sense.
I'll look back through it if you
Our
see
plan does
exactly
say-
where. I'd love to.
Section 5, water conservation, it says landscaping agreements. Is that what you're talking?
Yeah.
It says any new developments that will utilize culinary for irrigation will require agreements recorded with the property to restrict landscaping to water efficient options. Is that what you're talking
Yep,
about?
that's
Okay, so
it.
that is in the plan.
Where is that?
This is
Sorry.
section 5, water conservation of the Kaysville Water Conservation Plan, page 89.
89.
Oh, it's in the packet. It's, yeah, I don't know. Let me see where it is. It's,
5-6.
yeah. Oh, yeah, page 89 of the packet. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, the city will identify in its master plan what additional city properties can be converted to culinary irrigation to improve circulation, water quality. Is that the item that
I
you
think it's the
wrote?
next one, landscaping agreements.
Oh, right above that. Okay. Any new developments that will utilize culinary for irrigation will require agreements recorded with the properties to restrict landscaping to water efficient options. I see what you're talking about. Yeah. So if we had an additional location, kind of like Talbot and Orchard Ridge, where, as we've talked about recently with this ordinance, if you guys come in and you, with your engineering, can show that it is not feasible, the city engineer agrees, I think we do want to have agreements in place that, okay, we're going to allow culinary to come in. However, we don't want turf all over the place.
Right.
We don't
Yeah.
want large.
And that's where I'm saying,
Yeah, I
I
see
felt
what
like
you're
this
saying.
actually just being referenced in the general plan would
Is
almost
enough.
cover what what the legislature's asking us to do.
Yeah, I mean,
Reinvent the wheel when we've already.
I mean, look it
Yeah.
over, this is just work items.
Yeah.
If you can see
Right.
any reason why that wouldn't work, or that would be, it just seems like that would be a very simple way to do it.
Okay.
Can I ask one more quick question?
Sure, go
In
ahead.
reference to what Mike's been asking about?
Yes.
So for those areas that can't have irrigation and need culinary, would that regulation apply only to like large subdivisions? Or if a single house wanted to build, would they also?
I think that it's good to take kind of a case-by-case approach, but from a, what's our default position standpoint, I would say that why not look at trying to have that for everything?
Okay. I mean, that's
an
fine. I was just curious.
opportunity as you're going through the initial process of development and construction. You're not going to have that opportunity again down the road to, hey, we want you to do this. This isn't the city that's going to come in after the fact and retrofit or pay for anything. So I think that would be a recommendation for me, is to let's start with that default.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, comments?
Well, can I make one more comment?
Yes,
Sorry, I know I just had
absolutely.
it. So I also just wanted to say I love that we have 200 people who have used Flip Your Strip. That makes me very happy because I had a lot of people who had wanted to utilize that before we put it in. And then I also was excited about just the fact that we've tried to do some things with our own properties and also, you know, Flushing by using the Parks Department. Like, I think that's cool innovation, and I don't know. I'm kind of a municipal nerd, but it makes me excited. So thanks for doing that, Josh.
It's been super helpful, and we appreciate Cole working with us on that. You know, we hate saying that water is lost to Flushing because it goes into the storm drain and it ends up in the wetlands in some of the streams and creeks. But we're able to get a beneficial use out of it still. We're able to reduce man hours expended by sending people out to flush these hydrants. And I think there's an optics component to it. People really get, it's the nice way to put it, they get passionate when we're out flushing. They don't like to see that.
Yes.
They see it as wasteful, and I can understand that. So if we're not having to do that, if we're not having to spend the man hours and have kind of a bad optics with things, then it's good. And our pressure is sometimes better than
It is.
some of these irrigation companies, so they're able to get improved coverage from their existing systems at the park. So
It's true. Okay. Anyone else? All right, thank you. Would someone like to make a motion then to move this to an action item?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we move work item B, discussion of updates to Kaysville Water Conservation Plan, to an action item. Now let me ask another question while I'm in the, Nick's gone.
I'll second.
Should we've actually had the discussion on C as well, have we not? Does it need to be discussed more?
Well,
No, we
I
haven't.
think it's a separate,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same thing, but it's,
Okay, I
It's
just
a-
thought, I thought Councilmember Blackham's question on that sort of wrote that in. but-
can't we just include this as the update, you mean?
Yeah. But that's fine. We did it that way.
I think it would still be good to have the discussion.
Okay. So I'll leave that
You know,
with-
if there are items where it can be consolidated and simplified, we can
Okay.
do that.
Okay.
But it would still allow the requirements from the state for the general plan component to be met.
Okay.
I think by making sure that we have that discussion at the very least.
Okay. All right, thank you. Let's see, we have a motion and a second. Councilmember Oaks.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you very much, Josh. Action or work item 5C. Is this Melinda's? Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so we are here tonight on items B and C because this is something that the state requires us to do. We do have two representatives from the state here with us this evening, so I think we have Haley and then Rachel. Our consultants, Christine and Liz, are here as well, as they're assisting with the revisions that we'll need to put into the general plan. So I think we could probably maybe have the state address some of the questions that have come up as far as like, can we kind of have one serve as both? But essentially we're here because a couple of years ago in the legislative session, I think it was specifically after a pretty high drought year, the state legislature determined that they would like to see cities and counties as well do more to integrate water conservation and considerations of water in land use planning. As an aside, I previously worked as the city manager in Pleasant View, and while I was there, we we did not have very sophisticated data or SCADA systems when I was there, but we determined when I was there that the city had overdeveloped their water substantially. And so it is a very scary thing to be in that position where you have people who could pull building permits and maybe not enough water to serve. So there are some things, you asked some great questions on this last item, but this really, I think, would be another tool to help prevent those type of scenarios from developing. So again, the purpose of this is really it's twofold: to look how water conservation, how we can be more mindful of that with future development, but also the state is looking to us to address how we can conserve for existing uses as well. So there are 4 things primarily that the city needs to evaluate with these plans: how development patterns influence the water demand, how we can reduce those water uses in both, again, new and existing development, how city operations can conserve water. Mr. Belknap just gave some great ideas of, we do have to do flushing from time to time, but can we do that in a manner that's as efficient as possible? And then also they are requiring us to work with all the different water providers. So as Josh mentioned previously, we have 3 secondary water providers here in the city who are completely separate from the city. And then we, of course, also have Weber Basin, where we purchase our water from wholesale. There were some specific requirements that were put in to state code. The state recently recodified LUDMA, and so previously this was in section 109A-403, but it is now found in title 10-20-404. So the state is requiring that we incorporate an element of water conservation into the general plan. And we have to analyze, again, how the development affects the use of water, our infrastructure, and future needs. They want us to look at strategies for reducing those demands, and then, again, looking at changes to government operations, consulting with our other water providers and our experts in the state, so the Division of Water Resources, Utah Department of Agriculture and Food, and then our irrigation companies. And then is a requirement that this has to be reviewed every 5 years. So kind of going off of what Chief Erickson stated earlier, a little bit of this is, I think, premature for all of those secondary water companies that have not had any data. So this has been a challenge for us to get into, where we really only have data on 20% of the usage in Kaysville, and how do we kind of carve out a plan and address that when we don't have good data for the other 80%. And then here's the future land use map that shows how the undeveloped portions of the city are intended to be utilized. And then again, the general plan would address that, as well as how we can make our future land use decisions in a way that's going to be responsible, setting goals and policy recommendations. So when this chapter is adopted, as we do have with all of our other chapters with the general plan, we'll have goals and objectives and recommendations on policies, and just will be left with a framework to really try and address some of these issues. And then I think from here, Josh, I'll turn the time over to you.
So as was mentioned previously, a number frequently used statewide to describe usage is that 80% of the water that we use along the Wasatch Front and various parts of the state is outdoor irrigation. And as also mentioned, the city provides culinary, drinking water, indoor usage water. We aren't directly in ownership of or control of irrigation systems, with the exception of about 6% of properties in Kaysville. Most of those are commercial. We do have some residential properties. Next slide. Here we have detailed the last 5 years of usage in terms of the deliveries from the Weber Basin Water Conservancy District. As I mentioned previously, we do have a contract amount of just over 2,700 acre feet and an additional 400 acre feet on average of exchange credits that we can get, and that results in an effective capacity of 3,100 acre feet, 3,186 to be exact. Our 2024 usage was just over 2,400 acre feet. 2,200 of that is water that we actually sold to customers, to our residents, to our businesses, and that equates to an 11% water loss, which is not insignificant, but it's lower than what is typical for a system of our age and size. That's typically up around 15 to 20% water loss. Water loss is things like water leaks, it's things like flushing, it's any use that isn't metered, and currently we don't have uses that aren't metered. And then, as previously mentioned again, our current 61 gallons per capita day. Future projections, as also mentioned previously, we are looking at by 2060 just over a 500 acre foot deficit, and a realistic deficit more so though of about 100 acre feet when we factor in that exchange. And as we're looking at how do we bridge that gap, largely focused on underground with wells. Working with an engineering consultant that we're working on a water master plan with right now. We're starting to put data together to assist future planning efforts as a new development comes in. We know that we have X number of what's called an equivalent residential connection. A single family home is one equivalent residential connection. A business could be 2, 3, or 4 ERCs, as they're called. So this would assist in understanding, okay, we have a development coming in, let's say Station Park is coming in, we know it's this many acres of general commercial, multiply that by the number of ERCs per acre, we're able to anticipate that's how many ERCs are going to be generated by this development, and we also understand that there's going to be 33,000 gallons per month per acre at a development like that. So understanding what is the impact going to be from this development and what are the trends coming as we continue to see growth and development. So these are all of the various zone types in Kaysville that they've broken that out to see what the impact per zone would be for future development. And let's see, yeah, as we talk about the future, again, this isn't this is what the impact is going to be. It's a general planning tool, this data, and can be used to kind of parse out other data and getting more specific with development proposals as they come, and also just being ready before development proposals come in. As Councilmember Hunt was talking about, you know, we don't want to over allocate, we don't want to be ready or not be ready for development as it comes along. So next, details on the three main irrigation providers for Kaysville. Over 54% of Kaysville is the Davis-Weber service area. 35% of Kaysville is Hates Creek, and 11% is Benchland. All three of those providers also serve residents outside of Kaysville. Davis-Weber has users in unincorporated county. It also has users in Layton City. Hates Creek provides all of the irrigation service, I believe, for Fruit Heights, and then Benchland is largely a service provider for Farmington with some coverage in Kaysville. That makes it additionally difficult to, as we're looking at coordination and understanding those systems' usage and operation, getting to a point where we're able to separate what's the Kaysville specific data, but we'll continue to work with and coordinate with those entities. And as mentioned, 2030 is that date for meters need to be installed and those providers need to start charging for usage. So. Riveting.
Mayor and council members, thank you for having us. Liz Jackson with GSBS Consulting. We're going to be speaking to the goals, policies, and recommendations. As Melinda mentioned, we're kind of shepherding this and helping kind of help craft it, speaking with the state, making sure we're in alignment with what the state requires, and hopefully doing it by the end of the year. And so the goals and policies we've laid out here, they kind of speak to each of those requirements, those 4 sections that Melinda mentioned. And a lot of this comes from the conservation plan that Josh laid out. There's a lot of good information in there, and so we're kind of helping work through. He gives us the technical information and kind of the background for Kaysville, and we kind of are helping shape it. But again, a lot of this comes from what you've already got in that 2025 proposed plan. So just for regarding the effective development patterns on water demand, a couple of things we've listed: use ERC-based water demand estimates when evaluating rezonings and general plan amendments, integrate water supply and level of service checks into development review, and encourage compact development patterns where appropriate to reduce irrigation needs. Next slide. And then methods to reduce demand for future development: maintain, increase, and refine water-efficient landscape standards, require landscaping agreements for any development using culinary water outdoors, might be what we talked about prior, ensure coordination with Weber Basin and secondary providers during development review, and then keep citywide culinary use at or below that 60 GPCD, which Josh mentioned. And then to speak to existing developments, some of the aspects we've pulled from that plan was expand turf removal and landscaping retrofits, and that can be via Weber Basin rebates and city programs. Grow participation in the My Meter portal, again, mentioned the 2025 plan. Implement targeted outreach for high-use accounts. Reduce water loss by investing in waterline replacements and leak detection. And then for that question, the big one of secondary water usage, support full secondary metering across the city by 2030, and then consider amending requirements for landscaping for the Kaysville Business Park. That's come up as well. And then for the city itself, some things opportunities to reduce waste. Convert more city parks and facilities to culinary irrigation to reduce system flushing, mentioned before. Use AMI data to refine rate structures to promote conservation. Invest in high return conservation projects using the new $20,000 Parks Water Efficiency Fund, and then reduce non-revenue water year over year. And so just kind of an idea, and Josh mentioned this before again, there's a couple of tiers here, a couple of prongs to this, where in order to close that 2060 deficit number that's been called out, the additional Weber Basin allocations and exchanges, that's an option. The development of city water rights and future wells, that's another part of it. And then, of course, trying to reduce demand within the city. So the last part of this would be just kind of how it would be implemented, coordination and monitoring after the fact. And so what we would suggest is ongoing coordination, and that's not only with Weber Basin and the secondary irrigation companies keeping in conversation, but also the state Division of Water Resources and Division of Drinking Water. And then per the state, routine updates. So you have to reassess goals in a 5-year cycle, and then data updates, taking a look at the numbers and seeing if it still checks out with the chapter, if updates need to be made or different methods need to be included. And then plan maintenance, update the water element at least every 5 years, incorporate new secondary metering data. Obviously that won't be happening necessarily until 2030 when those are installed, and then reevaluate supply, demand, and conservation progress each cycle.
So what's the water element? Remind me. What are we updating?
The water element itself.
This is the plan.
Yes.
So we'd update this plan every 5 years.
Yes, or at least revisit it and confirm if it still works or needs to have some updates.
Okay.
Yes, the chapter of your general plan. Yep.
Okay.
And so kind of our goals with this work session, because we're kind of, we're all working together on this, and the state's been kind enough to be reviewing and going through this with us and checking in and seeing if we're hitting some of the goals there. And we'd like for you to feel comfortable as we move forward with this. And so we just wanted to have all of us here for any questions about this, about the process itself, along with any of the content, and then anything else that needs to be considered.
Okay.
We have scheduled a public hearing for this to be presented to Planning Commission next Thursday, which is a little bit tricky because we still got to kind of finalize, get a good enough draft in to put in the packet tomorrow. Hopefully, may end up updating the packet next week if we need to. And then we would bring this back to the City Council on the 18th for action, assuming we get a recommendation out of the City Council, or excuse me, the Planning Commission out of that meeting next week.
And the reason we need to have a public hearing is because rates are involved?
So state code requires that any general plan, a small area plan, or legislative act have a planning or a hearing
okay.
with Planning Commission.
Okay.
So because that falls within a general plan, we do have to have that public hearing with the Planning Commission, as they're the party responsible for giving a recommendation
Okay.
on that.
But at that time, we won't have tiered rate information from secondary water, for example, right? So
No,
we won't
no.
know any of those types of answers.
No. Yeah, so that's been a little bit tricky actually to kind of work through this is, you know, to not have some of that data and then try and address some of the, you know, water usage that is not controlled by the city, and we don't have data. That has been, I think, a pretty big challenge. But I think there's also some very obvious answers and some low-hanging fruit, things that we can do, policy recommendations we can put in the plan until we do have that better data of knowing exactly how much, you know, water is used by the secondary water or provided through secondary water service providers. So I think as we discuss this internally, you know, those meters have to be installed by 2030. We'll want to have a year at least or a couple years of data. So, you know, to be able to, I think, adequately address and transcribe what that data means. And so I think the most reasonable time frame for amending this or looking at this again would probably be 2032, just because if we do it again in 5 years, we won't have any data at that point. So we're looking realistically, I think, at least 6 years before we can actually try and put some more meaningful data-driven content into a general plan.
Okay, and then I did hear, and maybe I misheard from somebody that said that this the states require there's a fee associated with this for homeowners for the water.
I don't see.
Will you?
I can't see a fee in the bill.
Yeah, there
like
is
a survey fee or something?
There's
or?
a fee that the Division of Drinking Water is going to be implementing starting in 2028.
Okay.
The division had previously operated largely with federal funding. That's now gone.
Right.
So they're implementing a fee where each city, based on their usage, will pay so much to the Division of Drinking Water to pay their staffing costs and other program costs. So, that was recently updated. They cut the fee in half, but it still won't go into effect until 2028.
Okay. So the first step is that the cities are required to implement this addition to their general plan.
And just
go ahead.
Just a clarification. I mean, I'm just reading the bill directly, the 102404, and under the section 4, except for a city in the 5th class or a town, a water use and preservation element that addresses the effect of permitted development of patterns of development of water demand on water infrastructure, methods of reducing water demand and per capita consumption of the future development, methods of reducing water demand on per capita consumption of existing developments, and opportunities for municipalities to modify the municipality operations to eliminate practices or conditions. I think your plan meets this requirement. If we referenced it, just if we're under, because I hate being pushed into something, but as I read what you've presented to us and what I read the bill says you have to have in there, it meets that requirement, I would say.
So what you would like to do is, instead of update our plan with this information, you would like to take the 2025 plan, just reference it and add it as an appendage.
If we have to do something to the general plan, just reference our...
The state's saying
if the state's saying we have to have this done by January 1st, then why can't we just reference
Let's
this
invite our state
plan?
representatives up to maybe clarify that for us, because maybe we are missing something.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
trying to see what I'm missing here.
It's close, but it's not there. So, I'm sorry, I'm Rachel Shilton. I am with the Division of Water Resources, and I am over the Analytics and Outreach section, who is implementing this general plan update through the legislation. The difference between your water conservation plan is that it doesn't specifically look at your plan for your development. So what this is trying to get at is you as a city saying, this is what we have zoned for in the future. This is what we know our water is. This is how much water we can allocate for those uses and stay within what we've got or what we plan to develop. That does include your secondary water use. And so it does need to be in there, and that's not in the conservation plan. As you have stated, that those water systems aren't within your control, but they do serve your city. And as a city, you should know what that is. You should be working with them to find out how that impacts your city. If you lost service from one of those secondary water systems, can your city meet those needs? That would have to come out of your culinary system. Or you're going to have to buy a secondary water system. I don't know what that looks like for you. But that's what the general planning is to go beyond just the conservation and say, how can I plan for my city, what my city looks like in the future, so that I'm not at risk for being water deficient? And that's not really in the conservation plan.
Okay, I guess my question would be, if we don't have that data yet, because we don't have the information from our secondary irrigation systems, then how are we able to implement that?
Davis and Weber is fully metered.
They're not reading them. They're not reading those meters.
So what do you suggest?
I would suggest talking with your secondary water systems and saying, if you're metered, why aren't you reading those? And me as a city with residents who are receiving water from you, I'd like that data, I'd like that information. And you can't require them to do that, but you can ask for it and try to be a motivating factor to get that. Weber Basin provides you water too, and they meter and they provide water to those other irrigation systems, so you have a master meter there. You did say that they also provide water to other cities, so not all of their use is yours, but they have a master meter of what they charge to your systems.
Okay.
So there is some data out there. It's not a complete unknown. And the city should be looking at that to say, where do we stand? What are those gaps? How can we fill those?
I see what you're saying, but what I'm saying is we are under the gun to adopt something by January 1.
Yes.
And what Josh has presented to me meets that requirement of what these 4 requirements are for the water portion of your general plan. That's what I'm reading.
So if you will, Mr. Blackham, read those for me again, council member.
It says, except for a city of the 5th class or a town, a water use and preservation element that addresses. This is a part it's asking you to do in the general plan.
Yes, that's right.
A, the effect of permitted development or patterns of development on water demand and water infrastructure. So we will do that.
So
through
stop right
development.
there.
Stop. Okay.
Does your water conservation plan look at future development and state what impact that will have on your existing system?
Not broken down. Overall usage.
Yeah. So, okay. So our next one.
Okay. Methods of reducing water demand and per capita consumption for future development.
So usage for future development.
Method of reducing water demand and per capita consumption of future development. It does that.
I think it does, in general terms, do that.
Sure.
So.
And then C is method of reducing water demand and per capita consumption for existing development.
And it does do that.
Does that. And the 4th and last one is opportunities for municipalities to modify the municipality operations to eliminate practices or conditions that waste water. talks about
And
that.
it does do that. So
Yep.
it's that first one, which is what the general plan
Which we
really
can't
is about.
really do until we have what you're saying, the metered amounts.
You
that
can
we-
still address it better than what it is now. You don't have comprehensive data, and I think your attorney's going to have grief with this. You're probably cringing a little bit.
Well, I just want to know what level of data do you need? Because I tend to agree with Councilmember Blackham that even though we might have a general understanding, that seems to satisfy. If it's development across the whole city, I don't know why we need to have it broken out. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're
Because how you develop, if you have, for instance, an industry, if you had Kimberly Clark come in and want to locate as an industry in your city that wants to be connected to your water system, I want you to ask them what their water needs are.
We would definitely do that. We have to do that. They have to tell us what size meter they're going to put in. They have to give us something that tells us what their water consumption is before we issue them a building permit.
And so in your general planning, do you account for that? So in your industrial use areas, do you have anything that says, we have this much water that we can commit and plan for in industrial use? And if I locate a big water user in that
I
industrial
don't know
park,
how I could give you the kind of data on a gee whiz what if. I don't know how we could do that. And I don't know how Josh could do that.
I tend to agree with Councilmember Blackham. Wouldn't we just average the use across all the zones that are listed in the general plan and say the average residential home requires this, the average industrial use in those zones requires this?
Because that is included in our plan.
Right, that is included in our plan.
Yeah. It says residential, commercial, institutional, industrial.
I mean, obviously, there are certain uses that would require, that would be outliers, that would require much more and also much less. But if you've taken a look at the permitted uses in the zone, and you've averaged the use for those, the average water use for those, and then built that into the average use for all the zones in the general plan, I'm failing to understand why that wouldn't satisfy A.
and that would satisfy A if that's in your conservation plan. And
Okay.
is that currently in the conservation plan?
Not currently.
That's, so if you want to update your conservation plan to include those general planning elements and reference your general plan zoning, that could be just a reference. But currently, that's not what's in the conservation plan. And that's why they don't line up completely.
But fairly easy.
It could be.
Change.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, I thought section 2, system maybe we'll go through it.
Yeah.
I appreciate your advice.
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll go through
okay,
it.
yeah, we'll go through it
That's-
again, but that would be an easier fix perhaps to
Yeah.
just make it highlighted or something.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So you're saying Olive, Davis, and Weber are metered currently? Secondary water systems are metered, the meters are installed?
The meters are installed. They report that they are fully metered.
And who reports that information to? Because that's not what we've been told.
They report it to the Division of Water Rights, and you can go to the Division of Water Rights water use reporting data site
Okay.
and look for the Davis-Weber Canal Irrigation Company, I think. Also, I think Haight Creek is partially metered, and your challenge is you don't know if those are your meters or someplace else. But the canal company does, the irrigation company does. I didn't look at Benchland, and I don't think Benchland is metered yet.
I don't think so either. So
But there is some data out there that can inform your process. It won't be full, but it's not nothing.
okay, so it could be very general is what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go
Oh,
ahead.
do you want to
Go
go
ahead.
first, Nate?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So my question is, and maybe I'm completely misunderstanding here. First, thank you for being here. If we're calculating everything based on projected use in our general plan, does that then make the zoning in our general plan binding? Or I guess, how do we account for that?
If you update your general plan and change your zoning, then you would update the water use that you believe is going to be necessary for that zoning.
Okay, so if we were to rezone something outside of the general plan,
Sure.
And without updating it, would we still be in compliance, or do we get in trouble for that?
This is your plan to guide your city development.
Right.
So there isn't a non-compliance with what's in your general plan. If you change zoning now for your general plan, you're not in non-compliance with your general plan. There's not anybody that's overseeing that for a city.
Okay.
True?
Yeah.
So yeah, the water use with that, it really is to help you plan better for your water use in your city, and not to be in that circumstance where you have built-out connections that you can't deliver water to.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so some questions. I'm not sure directed towards you or the city, but isn't this tied to a grant that we're going after, a $15,000 grant?
Yes.
Okay.
And part of that was the coordination with the water providers.
Okay. So we don't have to adopt this if we don't accept the grant, correct?
You still have to update your general plan.
Yes, what
to-
Josh was mentioning,
Yes.
absolutely. And it
Yes.
sounds like we're already
Yes,
going down that path.
yes.
But specifically, this bill, state law,
That's right. If you return the money, don't use the grant funds, then you are not compelled to have coordinated with the division or coordinated. It still says to coordinate with the water providers in your
Yeah.
system, but the grant specifically said you have to do that in order to receive our funds.
okay. Yeah, I feel quite nervous. I mean, it's December. A lot of the documents here that was presented, and good presentation, but they weren't included in our packet. I had a hard time fully understanding some of the information, and I feel frustrated being a city council member, and I just don't have a lot of detailed information to go off of to make a good decision.
Sure.
I agree that we need to conserve water and absolutely make plans as a city, but I feel very apprehensive to just move forward with it, just for $15,000, not knowing what it entails in the future. And a few things that make me nervous about it, in the bill, there's moderate income housing requirements. I understand that different development means different usage of water. I'm not so sure why moderate income housing is in that bill, how that applies. And then there's also some language there that says that we need to designate long-term goals and of the distribution location of land for housing for residents of various income levels. I think that's kind of interesting. I understand we need various types of housing, but
So these were different bills that made changes to the city code. So that's a different bill and a different issue from the water update to the general plan.
okay, good. But that's included in,
In the new city code, yes.
yeah, and that's included in the state bill that was in our packet to read.
So
And there's a few other issues?
The section of state code that you're referencing has, it's the whole gamut of everything that's required to put in your general plan. So the moderate income housing element is in there.
Which we already
You're
did that,
correct.
yeah.
Right. Now, there's this new section that's specific to the water and to the use conservation. In the packet that we put out for the joint session, I had that particular section highlighted. So the part that we're speaking about really is only going to be for the water conservation. There is no moderate income housing in that portion. My thoughts would be we should see what happens next week with the Planning Commission and with the recommendation that they bring forward. And if the council isn't comfortable with what that looks like, obviously we could make a decision at that point as to if you don't want to adopt, if you want to delay that. But yes, we have received and entered into an agreement with the state to be reimbursed up to $15,000 for the expenses. But part of that is that we do adopt by year's end to meet that requirement in state code. I have not submitted any invoices for reimbursement yet, but my thoughts would be, let's see how this goes with Planning Commission next week and bring it back to the City Council. And if the document that they recommend, there's no comfort level with the council, then you can take whatever action is, your prerogative with a recommendation with the Planning Commission, as always.
Okay.
If I could make one recommendation, the conservation plan, I started working on that back in March and was able to get that to draft reviewed form by about July. That I tailored that specifically based off of the state requirements, almost verbatim. I would, if we go in a direction of referencing the water conservation report to meet these requirements, I would like to see kind of the zoning and land use still land within the general plan, and then maybe reference everything else as living in the water conservation report, just to kind of keeping the water conservation report focused just on that.
Just remember, though, a general plan is just a guideline.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. And I think that's an important distinction to make, that even with those numbers that I pointed out in the conservation report, these are like very high level planning type of figures, and no developer nor the legislature should ever construe those as like, well, your report said it, so you guys are locked in on that. And I think it's good to ask these kinds of questions, because I don't think that's the intent of some, but I certainly do think that is the intent of others, is to like paint people into corners. We don't want to do that. I think we can protect ourselves and still meet the various requirements. So I think, Mike, you're spot on with, can we simplify by referencing the conservation report, and then maybe have a component still within the general plan?
I look at your conservation report as a living document. It's going to move back and forth on and on. The general plan is a guideline. All we're doing is referencing your report, which we're going to use more strictly than we are going to probably use our general plan, because our general plan is a guideline and your report is something that has specific data.
Perfect. Thank you.
Just a couple more points that made me a little uncomfortable, but I just want more information and clarification. Yeah, there's a moderate income piece to that, just mentioning that, and I wasn't clear if that's tied to accepting this grant and whatnot, but there's also a reduction of, there's a provision in there, a reduction of yard waste. I know back east in different communities, they only allow each household to get rid of a very small bag of yard waste each week, otherwise they have to pay through the roof. Elimination of ponds, pools, and other features, and then some landscaping stipulations as well. And then there was information there, identify agricultural areas in the city and avoid proposing the use of land that's inconsistent with agricultural protected areas. And so some of these things just made me nervous, and I feel like I just don't have enough information, and we're at, it's December, and we're supposed to decide.
The nice thing about those items, those are ideas that the state proposed of, hey, if you're looking for strict, specific conservation measures that you could implement, these are some ideas. And we were able to confirm that. Is the state trying to say that we need to implement some of these? Nope, they were just ideas. If you don't want to utilize those, which I don't think Kaysville does, I don't think we're interested in regulating pools and ponds and, like you said, something specific like, hey, how much yard waste did you guys generate? I think we have other opportunities that we can utilize, and I think one of those biggest opportunities is, hey, we are going to be charging for usage, and I think people themselves will
self-regulate.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was a nice, and I think that came from a question that you had in the joint work session with Planning Commission as we looked into that, like, oh, it's actually not saying that those are things that have to happen. They were just throwing them out as ideas, and I don't think those necessarily fit with what staff and elected officials are interested in doing in Kaysville.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
Yeah, and Josh, while I agree with that, my concern is that if they're not in there, state legislature then makes them thou shalls.
Yeah, at what point do they change the
That's
rules?
that's just my only concern.
Understand.
So, and my other concern, the one concern I have with asking for information when it's not full, I mean, a little information is always good, but I worry about these agencies then charging sooner, because we have, by 2030, you push them also, everything's available, some's available a lot sooner. People start getting charged, or we can start getting charged? I'm happy with less right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
As taxes keep going up and I look at the bills that I've been paying.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't agree more. I
Just a concern I
benefit
have.
from very cheap water at my home, and my meter was installed last year on my irrigation system, and I went out before they turned the system on to look at the meter reading so that I could go back at the end of the season and, okay, what was my final reading after they shut the system off? And information is very powerful. But I think it will take a significant amount of time, even once meters are installed. All three of the companies are still installing meters. But, you know, even if they were able to complete that work next year, that's a pretty complicated task, establishing the rate. Hey, what does our system need to support its function? What are we going to do in terms of how we bill? Are we going to hire staff to be our billing clerks? How are we collecting the data? So are these systems going to be AMI where the data is automatically transmitted to their offices? Are they going to have radio read where they have to hire employees to go out and collect those reads? I think there's a lot of parts that have to be figured out. And even if all of the parts were figured out, in the conversations I've had with the irrigation companies, I don't see any of them starting to charge before that 2030 deadline. I don't think they have an interest in the blowback that would come with that, of being able to charge sooner. So I wouldn't either. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you.
All right, so we are at the point where we need to make a decision about work item 5C. Someone like to make a motion?
What would the motion be?
The only motion would be to move is to
Either
table it until we have what the planning commission sends us, or move it to a work item, which
Yeah.
would be our really only two options.
Or are you
Yeah,
thinking
well-
we just wait till planning committee, we just leave it and don't do anything?
So you could table it,
Yeah.
or you can move it to an action item in
Pending.
the hopes that the planning commission, if you were interested in the $15,000 grant, in the hopes that I think at the next planning commission meeting, they'd have a recommendation, which is a real tight turnaround for
Right.
them and staff. I can't speak to the pragmatics of that, but those are kind of your two options.
Okay,
Move to an action item.
or a third is just do nothing, right? Just leave it as a work item? We don't have to take action?
Yeah, you
Okay.
can table it, yep.
All right, what would you like to do?
Well, if we table it,
It's still an action.
right, but then it can't, that kind of gets rid of our option to, unless we have another meeting outside of our regular meetings, to qualify for that grant by the end of the year.
Correct.
I'm not saying I'm like married to that idea, but I just wanted to put that out there.
That's correct.
Okay.
So as staff, the plan is to hold the public hearing next Thursday.
Okay.
If we get a recommendation from the planning commission, I'm going to turn that back around and get that on the agenda for the 18th. So I don't know if there's necessarily a motion for you to make at this point. That's the plan. It will just follow the normal planning commission process, which is we get that on the next agenda as we can.
But then at the next meeting, wouldn't we need to move
would
this
need to
from
be
a
an
work
action
item to an action item?
That's
No,
to-
I would put it on as action like we normally do for for any rezone or any other text amendment is what my plan was.
Typically, an item would flow from work to action.
Okay,
Mayor.
unless we stop it. Okay. All right. Then, nothing? We'll just move on?
So it can be an action item next time if we do nothing.
Well,
If it gets a favorable recommendation from planning, it automatically becomes an action, right?
that's typically how we've done it. There's a little bit of weirdness here, uniqueness, because typically you get that action item without hearing it, but the planning commission's heard it.
Right.
So if the council doesn't want to hear it, you should table it.
Okay.
If you're okay with the way Ms. Greenwood's presented it, you're fine to take no action.
Okay.
If you want to affirm that that's how you want to go, you could also move it to an action item.
Okay.
To just belt and suspend.
Okay, thank you. Council, any thoughts? Councilmember Jackson
Sounds like we should
has a
table
thought.
it.
I don't mind hearing it
Yeah.
next week, I mean, in 2 weeks.
Okay,
So
then
if
that
you
means-
table it, then what he's saying is if you table it, you won't be able to hear it because it'll have to come back as a work item. They won't be able to put it in as.
Yeah, if we table it, we say we don't want to see it, we're done.
Sorry, I wasn't talking to them. Oh, hey, hello.
If we table it, we're saying we're done.
Yeah, and I mean, I personally don't
Would like to hear
think
it.
there's any disservice for us being able to hear it, especially on the chance that over the next 2 weeks, they can make some variations to our current plan that will satisfy the needs of,
Okay.
That was potentially my thought is, I'm not advocating for, we have to use that state grant and we want to make this very robust and complicated isn't the right term, but potentially move it to action with input of, we would like to see, as Councilmember Blacken pointed out, potentially maybe have a small component in the general plan and reference the water conservation report for the lion's share, and that way it can still be discussed. There's still the option if the city wants to utilize that 15,000 and we're comfortable, and then we have that as an option.
Okay.
And if we don't, then we
don't.
council can vote accordingly. And
you should run for city council.
Not in a million
Councilmember Belknap.
Okay, thanks,
So
Josh.
grateful for you guys, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we need to make a motion then, really. Do we
I
need
think we're
to,
good to-
can we just move on?
Do we have consensus on that? Okay, super. Thank you for your help and for clarification that you provided. All right, council member reports. Anyone have anything to share?
I just want to
Councilmember
say,
Jackson.
this is the best our Main Street has looked
Thank you.
in years since, I've lived
so
here.
too.
I think the lights are really nice, so good job, Mayor. And
Don't need more trees?
We do need more trees.
Yeah, great job,
Yeah, the lights.
Parks and Rec. Do you like the color? Thanks, I do
They've done a
too.
good job.
I really appreciate the way the last hour flowed. It felt very liquid.
Fluid.
Very fluid. Dang it, very. Merry Christmas to everybody that doesn't tune in next week. Thanks, Mayor.
Melinda, do you happen to have those pictures? You do? Okay, all right. I'm going to do a little shout out for Kaysville Gives really fast right here. So Kaysville Gives is in full swing. The staff went and helped shop on Monday or Tuesday. Which day was it? Both Monday and Tuesday. Okay. So this is what it looked like a couple years ago. This is what we're doing. Friday is Fill the Fire Truck. So here's just some pictures to remind everyone how. Saturday, sorry. It's been a long day, guys. Saturday is Fill the Fire Truck. It's at Barnes Park this year at 10 a.m. Yes, because then we have more access to drive around, and it's going to be snowy and bad weather maybe. We're hoping people still show up and drop off your toys, your donations. Your cash donations are greatly appreciated. Any donation is appreciated, and we're thankful for it. We appreciate our staff, our city. We've donated time. Staff members have helped shop. Our community has really been incredible. I think this is our 9th year. And we just need to raise some more money and support families. We have 150 families, and I think that equates to, I think they said 500 kids I think 500 children amongst those 150 families. And this year we are not doing bikes, we're not doing anything extravagant, we're keeping it to very minimal things that families really need, but they really do need the help. So thank you, everybody. Please show up. And if you also want to, you can go to the Amazon wish list for Kaysville Gives, and you could just buy stuff off of Amazon, and it will be shipped over to Young Truck and Trailer, who's partnering with us for this. And you don't have to do anything. You just click and pay, and that would be really helpful as well. So thank you all. Anyone else have anything? No? Okay, Jason?
Mayor, just a reminder, I think a lot of you are going to the employee or city Christmas holiday party on Tuesday night. That's at 6 o'clock over in Syracuse. If you have any questions, let us know.
Yeah, is there an address other than Warehouse 22? I never saw one in.
Oh, really? Well, I'll put that out. Okay, everyone.
Thank you.
I don't see that on my calendar.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No. Is it too late?
I guess
to
they need calendar
add a
invites.
couple?
Sorry?
Is it too late to add?
The RSVP?
No, you can still go.
Ariel had several people.
That's right.
Multiple RSVPs.
Confirm that there's spots available.
Yeah.
I forgot to RSVP.
I did too. and-
Yeah, I think I RSVP'd 3 times.
I did.
So you guys are fine. You can show up.
Leave us out on the curb.
and
The last thing I want to
maybe
mention.
Send a time and date.
Oh, yeah,
address.
Jason will send that for
I'll
you.
put that in the calendar invite.
Time and address. Oh,
Everybody
thank you so much.
with an
We're
address?
having a reception next council meeting, Thursday, December 18th, for Perry Oaks. Councilmember Perry Oaks is retiring. Yes, he's been such a great council member, and I am so sad that we will not have his wisdom and his experience to guide us anymore. But very excited about your new opportunities. So please come to that. That is open to the public. We'd love to see people here to support him. He's put in hours and hours of hard work, and being on council is a lot of fun, and it's also a lot of time. And so just appreciate everything that everyone does. Okay, that's it. Would someone like to make a motion?
City manager report?
I think Jason.
No, I'll send it in an email tomorrow.
Oh, you will? Okay, sorry, Jason.
Nothing urgent.
Okay, all right.
I'll make a motion. Do we adjourn?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, thank you. Where's the what?
I'll just give you a mic, that's all you need.
I thought that was going to be
I did too. I did too. That's what I told Marcia. I said, this should be quick.